ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Namaste my dear friends. I am going to give you a very important video. You must watch this video and try to know the real cause of difficulties faced by all sadhakas in their spiritual pursuits. Remember, you sit for meditation and you close your eyes. Straightway there is a tremendous flow of thoughts from your Atma. What is the cause of the flow of these thoughts? These thoughts are caused by ego, powered by the latent tendencies or propensities or subtle impressions embedded in our chitta from so many previous births. These vasanas are the main cause of our unhappiness, disturbance, and unpleasant situations in our life. So please try to understand what are these vasanas, how they are caused, and how they are affecting our day-to-day life. So I start the video. What are vasanas? Vasanas are a bundle of tendencies or desires which drive man to think, feel, and act according to the nature of the vasanas. Thus, it would be perfectly right to say that a man is what he is because of his vasanas. These vasanas play a tremendous role in our life. We can say that our all the acts, our thought process is completely affected by these vasanas. These vasanas force us to adopt a certain way of life, and these vasanas compel us to adopt a certain path. Vasanas create desires in the intellect. If the person does not use his discrimination but permits the desire to gain strength or to take root, the intellect passes it on to the mind, where the desire produces agitations, emotions, and feelings become so strong that the body is then ordered and forced to carry out actions to satisfy the desire. Vasanas are also called as dissatisfied desires. Vasanas, desires, are equal to guna, nature, further equal to saṁskāra or saṁskāra, tendencies, qualities. Minus, I do not know the exact word. Vedanta says everything in this universe is created from Trigunatmika Maya. Maya with three gunas. These three gunas are Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Each one of us is born with these qualities or gunas. Out of three gunas, a person has one predominant guna. Three types of vasanas or gunas. The nature of a person depends upon these vasanas. But vasanas cannot be seen. They are invisible. Vasanas are subtlest form of action, and action is the grossest form of vasanas. So a person acts according to his vasanas. By studying his actions, one can judge which type of vasanas a person has. At least predominant desires can be known. Vasanas or gunas can be broadly classified in three types. First type is sattva guna, pure intelligence and goodness, quality of renunciation, love for God and other divine qualities. Saints have more percentage of sattva guna, rajas guna, fire of desire or spiritedness, warrior class, demands attention and credit, egoists, glory, glamour, zeal and spirit of doing some work, etc. Rajas, tamas, dullness or inertia, negative qualities like revenge, killing of innocents, etc. So, the evolution of mankind is the transformation from tamas to rajas to sattva, that is from animal nature to the divine nature. Three gunas also stand for creation, preservation and destruction. Say for example a person has 70% sattva, 20% rajas and 10% tamas guna. So he can be considered as a sattvic person. Such person devotes more time for God, helps others and is engaged in other noble work. Generally people have the maximum percentage of rajas guna. Spirituality is for everybody. Each one of us has three gunas. A person also have a sattva guna, even though it may be in a very low percentage. The only difference will be that a sattvic person can grasp spiritual instructions very fast and easily. But a tamasic person takes more time as mind is not purified sattvic and is not neutral. Depending upon the predominant guna, a spiritual master or guru chooses the best path suitable to a particular person. Again, the percentage of these gunas keeps changing. While sleeping, tamas guna is predominant. While working in daytime, rajas guna is predominant. And just after the sleep is complete and work is not yet started, there is sattva guna in the early morning. Again in the daytime, the percentage of these gunas keeps changing. When one is attending a spiritual discourse, retreat, satsanga, his mind is calm and temporarily he is receptive and accepts the teachings of a saint. But later, after the discourse is over and we are again engaged in our worldly activities, duties, Rajas Guna is predominant. At this time, if a person again thinks of the teachings, his ego reacts and may reject the teachings. The purpose of all karma kand, service to God and humanity, is to make a person sattvic, that is, to increase and make sattva guna as a predominant guna. This is the purpose of religion and spirituality. Predetermined destiny and free will. Some desires are predominant, some are dormant. At the time of death, there may be many desires, but the predominant desire and the ripe fruits of his past actions decide the direction of life of next birth. If a person has a desire to earn money and enjoy his life, to fulfill his desire, he is reborn in a rich family. Soul gets the body, parents, and environment such that his predominant desires can be fulfilled. This is his predetermined destiny. God has also given us the free will. Human beings can use the power of discrimination and can choose to act wisely. This can shape his future, but he has to pass through some incidents and phases of life, whether he likes it or not. Because of predetermined destiny, according to Gita, chapter 15, a soul at the time of dying takes with it all five senses and mind and reincarnates in another body. He gets a fresh body, but his mind is old. So, a person is born with a particular kind of nature or vasanas or desires. Sincere spiritual practices like meditation, service attending discourses, makes one's mind calm and receptive. Suppose there is no free will, then as the prarabdha karma, that is ripe fruits of his past actions and his dissatisfied desires carried from past life extinguishes with time, a person experiences calmness. Free will makes a person more and more active and makes the mind restless. If he gets success due to his efforts, he will be tempted to do more and more. If he fails, he will try to find another solution or will be disheartened by failure. This will again make the mind restless. Free will is the culprit. If the free will is surrendered to the God, then things become easier. A person excels in spirituality. Free will increases the ego, while surrender of free will to God decreases the ego. A person who has surrendered his free will to God does not have any expectation of the results of his works. So he remains unattached to the results and stays calm. Such a person is a true karma yogi. He leaves everything on God and keeps working without expectation, nor does he work for honor or pride. Meditation also helps. Till now, mind knew only two attributes, that is, to select and reject. Meditation takes mind into the third attributes or direction of stillness, calmness, and state of an observer. Surrender to the God, immense faith in God, Guru, Shastras, and yourself. Study of Shastras, service, and reverence to Guru and meditation, sadhana, japa, triggered by the desire of moksha, liberation, are the means to self-realization. The fruits of self-realization are deep peace, eternal bliss, and of course the knowledge that you are not the mere body but an immortal. I am Sat Chit Ananda. Sat is existence, truth. Chit is consciousness, and Ananda is eternal bliss, and this is known as Satchidanand. Maharishi Ramana has explained these vasanas in a very detailed way. Talks with Ramana Maharishi. There are many talks regarding vasanas. So I am going to describe these talks in this video. The following are key selections from talks with Bhagwan Sri Ramana Maharishi as well as other Sri Ramana books on this very important topic of vasanas. Only the part related to vasanas is reproduced here. Please refer to the original source provided for the complete discussion should you wish more information. When researching vasanas, it is of importance to note that there are both good suvasanas and bad kuvasanas, and also two types of vasanas, bandha hetuhu and bhoga hetuhu. Bandha hetu is the vasana that obstruct self-realization. Vasanas are of four kinds. Number one, pure Suddha. Number two, impure Malina. Number three, mixed Madhya. Number four, good Sat. According as the Gyanis are, number one, the supreme Varishta. Number two, the best Varya. Number three, better Vara. Number four, good Vit. Their fruits are reaped in three ways. Number one, of our own will, swecha. Number two, by others' will, precha. And number three, involuntarily, aniccha. These have been Gyanis like Gautama, Vyasa, Sukha, and Janaka. Talk number 13. Devotee puts a question to Maharishi Ramana. What are the obstacles which hinder realization of the self? Maharishi, they are habits of mind vasanas. Talk number 28. Devotee puts a question to Maharishi. Distractions result from inherited tendencies. Can they be cast off too? Maharishi replies, yes, many have done so. Believe it, they did so because they believed they could. Vasanas, predispositions can be obliterated. It is done by concentration on that which is free from vasanas and yet is their core. Devotee puts a question, how long is the practice to continue? Maharshi replies, till success is achieved and until yoga liberation become permanent. Success begets success. If one distraction is conquered, the next is conquered, and so on until are finally conquered. The process is like reducing an enemy's fort by slaying its manpower one by one as each issues out. Devotee, what is the goal of this process? Maharshi, realizing the real. Talk 57. Some people think that there are different stages in jnana. The self is nitya aproksha, that is ever realized, knowing or unknowingly. Sarvana, hearing the truth, they argue, should there be aproksha jnana directly? Directly experienced and not proksha jnana, indirect knowledge. But jnana should result in dukkha nivirti, loss of misery, whereas sarvana alone does not bring it about. Therefore they say, though aproksha direct immediate, it is not unshaken. The rising of vasanas is the cause of its being weak, not unchanging. When the vasanas are removed, jnana becomes unshaken and bears fruit. Others say sarvana is only proksha jnana. By manana, reflection, it becomes aproksha spasmodically. The obstruction to its continuity is the vasanas. They rise up with reinforced vigor after manana. They must be held in check. Such vigilance consists in remembering I am not the body and adhering to the aproksha anubhava direct experience which has been had in course of manana reflection. Such practice is called nidhi dhyasana and eradicates the vasanas. Then dawns the sahaja state, that is jnana sure. The aproksha in manana cannot affect dukkha nivarti, loss of misery, and cannot amount to moksha, that is release from bondage, because the vasanas periodically overpower the jnana. Hence it is adridhya, weak, and becomes firm after the vasanas have been eradicated by nididhyasana, one-pointedness. Talk 80. Maharshi, the thoughts are only vasanas, predispositions, accumulated in innumerable births before. Their annihilation is the aim. The state free from vasanas is the primal state and eternal state of purity. Devotee, it is not clear yet. Maharshi, everyone is aware of the eternal self. He sees so many dying but still believes himself eternal because it is the truth. Unwillingly, the natural truth asserts itself. The man is deluded by the intermingling of the conscious self with the insentient body. This delusion must end. Devotee, how will it end? Maharshi, that which is born must end. The delusion is only concomitant with the ego. It rises up and sinks, but the really never rises nor sinks, it remains eternal. The master who has realized says so. The disciple hears, thinks over the words and realizes the self. There are two ways of putting it. The ever-present self needs no effort to be realized. Realization is already there. Illusion alone is to be removed. Some say the word from the mouth of the master removes it in instantaneously. Others say that meditation etc. are necessary for realization. Both are right, only the standpoints differ. Devotee, is dhyana meditation necessary? Maharishi, the Upanishads say that even the earth is in eternal dhyana. Devotee, how does karma, action, work, deeds help it? Will it not add to the already heavy load to be removed? Maharishi, karma done unselfishly purifies the mind and helps to fix it in meditation. Devotee, what if one meditates incessantly without karma? Maharshi, try and see. The vasanas will not let you do it. Dhyana comes only step by step with the gradual weakening of the vasanas by the grace of the Master. Talk 108. Devotee, the individuals after going to deep sleep wake up individuals as formerly. How is it? Mercy, just as the rivers discharge into the ocean lose their individuality, still the waters evaporate and return as rain on the hills and through rivers to the ocean. So also the individuals going to sleep lose their individualities and yet return as individuals according to their previous vasanas unawares. Thus, even in death, Sat existence is not lost. Talk 141. Maharishi, Jnana once revealed takes time to steady itself. The self is certainly within the direct experience of everyone, but not as one imagines it to be. It is only as it is. This experience is samadhi, just as fire remains without scorching against incantations or other devices, but scorches otherwise. So also the self remains veiled by vasanas and reveals itself when there are no vasanas. Owing to the fluctuation of the vasanas, jnana takes time to steady itself. Unsteady jnana is not enough to check rebirth. Jnana cannot remain unshaken side by side with vasanas. True that in the proximity of a great master, the vasanas will cease to be active, the mind becomes still, and samadhi results. Similar to fire not scorching because of other devices, thus the disciple gains true knowledge and right experience in the presence of the master. To remain unshaken in it, further efforts are necessary. He will know it to be his real being and thus be liberated even while alive. Samadhi with closed eyes is certainly good, but one must go further until it is realized that actionlessness and action are not hostile to each other. Fear of loss of samadhi while one is active is the sign of ignorance. Samadhi must be the natural life of everyone. There is a state beyond our efforts or effortlessness. Until it is realized, effort is necessary. After tasting such bliss, even once, one will repeatedly try to regain it. Having once experienced the bliss of peace, no one would like to be out of it or engage himself otherwise. It is as difficult for a jnani to engage in thoughts as it is for an ajnani to be free from thought. The common man says that he does not know himself. He thinks many thoughts and cannot remain without thinking. Any kind of activity does not affect a jnani. His mind remains ever in eternal peace. Talk 142. Mr. Prakasa Rao from Vijayawada does not illusion become inoperative even before identity with Brahma results Brahmakara Virati, or does it persist even afterwards? Maharishi replies, illusion will not persist after vasanas are annihilated. In the interval between the knowledge of the identity and annihilation of vasanas, there will be illusion. Talk 172. Devotee. Will the knowledge gained by direct experience be lost afterwards? Maharishi Kaivalya Navnita, the cream of emancipation, says it may be lost. Experience gained without rooting out all the vasanas cannot remain steady. Efforts must be made to eradicate the vasanas, otherwise rebirth after death takes place. Some say direct experience results from hearing from one's master, others say it is from reflection, yet others say from one-pointedness and also from samadhi. Though they look different on the surface, ultimately they mean the same. Knowledge can remain unshaken only after all the vasanas are rooted out. Talk number 173. Devotee, Lord, how can the grip of the ego be slackened? Maharishi, by not adding new vasanas to it. Devotee, any amount of japa has not slackened the grip. Maharishi, how so? It will truly slacken and vanish. Talk 230. A visitor can one realize the truth by learning the scriptures and study of books? Maharishi, no. So long as predispositions remain latent in the mind, realization cannot be achieved. Shastra learning is itself a vāsana. Realization is only in samadhi. Talk 289. Devotee, having heard this truth, why does not one remain content? Maharishi, because saṁskāras have not been destroyed. Unless the saṁskāras cease to exist, there will always be doubt and confusion. Sandeha viparita. All efforts are directed to destroying doubt and confusion. To do so, their roots must be cut. Their roots are the saṁskāras. These are rendered ineffective by practice as prescribed by the Guru. The Guru leaves it to the seeker to do this much so that he might himself find out that there is no ignorance. This truth mentioned is in the stage of the hearing of the truth, sarvana, that is, no dhrida, firm. For making it unshaken, one has to practice reflection, manana, and one-pointedness, nididhyasana. These two processes course the seeds of the vasana so that they are rendered ineffective. Some extraordinary persons get dridha jnana, unshaken knowledge, even on hearing the truth only once. Sakracharvana matrena, because they are kartoksha advanced seekers, whereas the arthopaskaha raw seekers take longer to gain dridha jnana, unshaken knowledge. People ask, how did ignorance, avidya, arise at all? We have to say to them, ignorance never arose, it has no real being, that which is only vidya, knowledge. Devotee, why then do I not realize it, Maharshi? Because of the saṁskāras. However, find out who does not realize and what he does not realize, then it will be clear that there is no avidya, ignorance. Talk number 317. Devotee puts a question. It is still theoretical to me. How shall I get the trance, the natural state? Maharshi, trance is only temporary in its effects. There is happiness so long as it lasts. After rising from it, the old vasanas return. Unless the vasanas are destroyed in sahaja samadhi, effortless samadhi, there is no good of trance. Devotee, but trance must precede sahaja samadhi. Maharshi, trance is the natural state, although there are activities and phenomena, yet they do not affect the trance. If they are realized to be not apart from the self is realized. Where is the use of trance unless it brings about enduring peace of mind? Know that even now you are in trance whenever happens, whatever happens, that's all. Devotee, can there be self-realization before the vasanas are entirely destroyed? Mercy, there are two kinds of vasanas. Number one, bandha hetuhu, causing bondage for the ignorant, and two, bhoga hetuhu, giving enjoyment for the wise. The latter do not obstruct realization. Devotee, are the self-realized persons reborn? For example, Vamdeva, Jada Bharta, etc. Mercy, the realized ones cannot be reborn. Rebirth is due to vasanas which are binding, but they are destroyed in the state of self-realization. Devotee, are we to take it that they had gone to the stage of Kevala Nirvikalpa but not Sahaja Nirvikalpa? Maharshi, yes. Devotee, if only vasanas for enjoyment do not obstruct the state of realization, and if one can look upon the events of the world without his state of bliss being disturbed, it means that attachment alone is bondage. Am I right? Maharshi, yes, quite. Attachment is bondage. Attachment disappears with the elimination of the ego. Devotee, realization is said to be helped by Guru's grace. Maharshi, Guru is none other than the Self. Talk 320. In the course of an informal conversation, Sri Bhagwan pointed out that self-realization is possible only for the fit. The vasanas must be eliminated before jnana dawns. One must be like Janaka for jnana to dawn. One must be ready to sacrifice everything for the truth. Complete renunciation is the index of fitness. Talk number 326. Here is another illustration. Suppose a cow plays rogue and strays into neighbor's fields to graze. She is not easily weaned from her stealthy habit. Think how she can be kept in the stall. If forcibly tethered in the stall, she simply bides her time to play the rogue. If she is tempted with fine grass in the stall, she takes one mouthful on the first day and again waits for the opportunity to run away. The next day she takes two mouthfuls, so she takes more and more on each succeeding day until finally she is weaned from her wicked tendencies. When entirely free from bad habits, she might be safely left free and she would not stray into neighbor's pasture land. Even when beaten in the stall, she does not afterwards leave the place. Similarly, with the mind, it is accustomed to stay outward by the force of the latent vāsanas manifesting as thoughts. So long as there are vāsanas contained within, they must come out and exhaust themselves. The thoughts comprise the mind. Searching what the mind is, the thoughts will recoil and the seeker will know that they arise from the self. It is the aggregate of these thoughts that we call mind. If one realizes that the thoughts arise from the self and abide in their source, the mind will disappear. After the mind ceases to exist and bliss of peace has been realized, one will find it then as difficult to bring out a thought as he now finds it difficult to keep out all thoughts. Here the mind is the cow playing the rogue, the thoughts are the neighbor's pasture. One's own primal being free from thoughts is the stall. Talk number 332. Those familiar with the logic Virti Prabhakara, Vichara Sagara or Sutra Bhasha or similar large works cannot rally small works like Truth Revealed dealing only with the self and that pointedly too because they have accumulated vasana. Only those whose minds are less muddy or are pure can rally small and purposeful works. Talk 383. Devotee, is there no Deyatma Buddhi? I am the body idea for the Jnani. If for instance Sri Bhagwan be bitten by an insect, is there no sensation? Mercy. There is the sensation and there is also the Deyatma Buddhi. The latter is common to both Jnani and Ajnani with this difference that the Ajnani thinks Dehva Atma, only the body is myself, whereas the Jnani knows all is of the self. Atamyam Sarvam or Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. All this is Brahma. If there be pain, let it be. It is also part of the self. The self is Purana, perfect. Now, with regard to the actions of the Jnani, they are only so called because they are ineffective. Generally, the actions get embedded as saṁskāras in the individual. That can be only so long as the mind is fertile, as in the case of Ajnani. With a Jnani, the mind is surmised, inferred, he has already transcended the mind. Because of his apparent activity, the mind has to be inferred in his case, and the mind is not fertile like that of an Ajnani. Hence, it is said that a Jnani's mind is Brahma. Brahma is certainly no other than the Jnani's mind. The Vasanas cannot bear fruit in that soil. His mind is barren, free from Vasanas, etc. However, since Prarabdha was conceded in his case, Vasanas also must be supposed to exist. If they exist, they are only for enjoyment, bhoga hetu. That is to say, actions bear twofold fruits, the one for enjoyment of their fruits and the other leaving an impression on the mind in the form of saṁskāras for subsequent manifestation in future birth. The Jnani's mind, being barren, cannot entertain seeds of karma. His vasanas simply exhaust themselves by activities ending in enjoyment only. Bhoga hetuvaha karma. In fact, his karma is seen only from the Ajnani's standpoint. He remains actionless only. He is not aware of the body as being apart from the self. How can there be liberation, mukti, or bondage, bandha for him? He is beyond both. He is not bound by karma, either now or ever. There is no jivan mukta or videha mukta according to him. Devotee, from all this, it looks as if a jnani who has scourged all the vasanas is the best and that he would remain inactive like stock or stone. Maharshi, not necessarily. Vasanas do not affect him. Is it not itself a vasana that one remains like a stock or stone? Saja is the state. Talk 384. The conversation turned on vasanas. Sri Bhagwan said that good tendencies and bad ones, suvasana and kuvasana, are concomitant. The one cannot exist without the other. Maybe that the one class predominates. Good tendencies, suvasanas, are cultivated and they must also be finally destroyed by jnana. A young prodigy was mentioned. Sri Bhagwan remarked that latent impressions of previous births, purva janma saṁskāra, were strong in him. Devotee, how does it manifest as the ability to cite well-known saints? Is it vasanas in the form of a seed only? Maharshi, yes, predisposition, saṁskāras is acquired knowledge and kept in stock. It manifests under favorable circumstances. One with strong saṁskāra understands the thing when presented to him much quicker than another with no saṁskāra or weak saṁskāra. Devotee, does it hold good with inventors also? Mercy, there is nothing new under the sun. What we call inventions or discoveries are merely rediscoveries by competent men with strong saṁskāra in the direction under consideration. Devotee, is it so with Newton, Einstein, etc.? Mercy, yes, certainly. But the saṁskāras, however strong, will not manifest unless in a calm and still mind. It is within the experience of everyone that his attempts to rake up his memory fail, whereas something flashes in the mind when he is calm and quiet. Mental quiet is necessary even for remembrance of forgotten things. The so-called genius is one who worked hard in his past births and acquired knowledge and kept it in store as saṁskāras. He now concentrates his mind until it merges in the subject. In that stillness, the submerged ideas flash out that requires favorable conditions also. Talk 385. Mr. Venkata Rao, an Andhra gentleman, in the course of conversation with Sri Bhagwan, was told, until you gain jnana, you cannot understand the state of a jnani. There is no use asking about the work of Iswara and the rest. Some ask why Shiva went naked in Daruka forest and spoiled the chastity of the rishis' wives. The Puranas which record these incidents have also said that Shiva had previously saved the Devas and the universe by consuming the poison hala hala at the time of churning the ocean of milk. He who could save the world from the deadly poison and lead the sages to emancipation had also wandered nude amongst their women. Their actions are incomprehensible to ordinarily intellects. One must be a jnani to understand a jnani or Iswara. Devotee, should we not learn the Jnani's ways and imitate them? Mercy. It is no use. Vasanas are of four kinds. Number one, pure Suddha. Number two, impure Malina. Number three, mixed Madhya. Number four, good Satya. According as the Jnanis are the supreme Varishta, the two best Varya, number three, better Vara, number four, good with. Their fruits are reaped in three ways. Number one, of our own will, Svecha, number by others' will, Paricha, and three, involuntary Anicha. These have been Gyan, there have been these have been Gyanis like Gautama, Vyasa, Sukha, and Janaka. Devotee, was Vyasa also a Jnani? Maharshi, yes, certainly. Talk number 402. While speaking of the brain and the heart, Sri Bhagavan recalled an incident of old days as follows. Kavakantha Ganpati Muni once argued that the brain was the most important center, and Sri Bhagavan maintained that the heart was even more so. There were others watching the discourse. A few days after Sri Bhagavan received a letter containing a short poem in English on that discourse from a young boy, N.S. Arunachalam, who had not yet matriculated. That poem is remarkable for its poetic imagination. Sri Bhagavan, Kavakantha, and the assemblies of the other persons are represented as the heart, the brain, and the body, respectively, and again as the sun, the moon, and the earth also. The light from the sun is reflected on the moon and the earth is illumined. Similarly, the brain acts by consciousness derived from the heart and the body is thus projected. This teaching of Sri Bhagavan is found in Ramana Gita also. The heart is the most important center from which vitality and light radiate to the brain, thus enabling it to function. The vāsanas are enclosed in the heart in their subtlest form, later flowing to the brain, which reflects them highly magnified, corresponding to a cinema show at every stage. That is how the world is said to be nothing more than a cinema show. Sri Bhagavan also added, were the vasanas in the brain instead of in the heart, they must be extinguished if the head is cut off so that reincarnations will be at an end. But it is not so. The self obviously safeguards the vasanas in its closest proximity, that is within itself in the heart, just as a miser keeps his most valued possessions treasure with himself and never out of contact. Hence, the place whereas the vasanas are is the self, that is the heart, and not the brain, which is only the theatre for the play of the vasanas from the greenhouse of the heart. So, I end this video here, and the topic of vasanas will continue in the next video. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment and share the video. Subscribe the channel. Namaskar my dear friends.